Hello, cadre. Well, as you can tell, this is probably not looking like much of a shave video because I don't shave while I'm at work. I shave at night. And so, what is this? Well, I put up a little video earlier of a trip to the blacktop plant, a little bit of the inner workings of what you got to do when you're driving big rigs and all. And Nurse Dave out there liked it and said he was interested and curious about how other people's jobs were and what made them different, and found that interesting. So I'm not sure whether you guys find it interesting or not, but if you want to know about big rigging, stay tuned. So here we go. There's a lot of similarities about this. In essence, it's just a really big truck that sits up higher, but there's a lot of things that do make it different. So first off, Rich, I think you drive one of them there little electric cars. This is not electric. This is a turbo diesel. And if you can see that trip meter down there, I think I'm averaging 5.3 miles per gallon on this trip. So I've got a huge carbon footprint. Sasquatch would be jealous of the size of my footprint. It might actually, if you were to measure this carbon footprint, it might give people the idea that my male parts were much larger than they actually are. So the footprint is quite extraordinary. Now, on the gauges, I've got the same kind of turn signal stock like every kind of modern vehicle has, but I've got some different gauges on my dash here. I got a blue def gauge. That's for your exhaust fluid. Urea goes in. You got filters on the exhaust, and that injects solution into the exhaust and lowers the emissions. Everything, all the new trucks got to have that. Down there's a transmission gauge. Some regular vehicles got them, some don't. My Toyota pickup truck's got one. Regular tachometer, regular speedometer. Over here I got two extra gauges most vehicles don't have because most people don't have air brakes. This is the gauge for the truck, and this is the gauge for a trailer if you're hauling a trailer. These two knobs right here, that's your air brake. That's off. Push it in, it's off. And then you pull it, it pops, and that sets the brakes. So when you got it, there's a transmission controller, automatic transmission in these. No more clutches and gear jamming or any of that stuff. They're all automatic. So you got it in neutral, but there's nothing stopping the truck from rolling around until you set that button there. So here's my air horn. Kind of girly. I don't like it. I don't have one of my old trucks had the cord up on the roof, up on the ceiling, and I had two horns up on the roof, much louder. Much manlier, but these kind of been sissified. I don't know, I guess the Me Too movement got a hold of them. So it does have cruise control, as you can see. Over here is a trolley brake. That's for if you got a trailer with air brakes, you can set the brakes, and like if you had a tractor trailer, you'd use that to move the rear axles on the trailer. Sometimes they got to be slid forward or rearward on trucks that have that, or trailers that have that capability, to get your weight right, to get your tongue weight right. And then you also got to do that. Sometimes you slide the fifth wheel forward and rearward and all in order to get right when you go across the scales and all that stuff. I also have a control box. If I got a trailer with electric brakes on it, you control the electric brakes and all on that. So regular controls for my air conditioning and heat. I got a Redneck high-tech radio, got Bluetooth, it's got a USB port and all that stuff, so that's high-tech. I got some buttons down here that control things that some vehicles have, and even a lot of big rigs don't have, because we plow snow. So there's some things that we add to the vehicles that make life a lot easier and a lot more manageable if you're dealing with snow and plowing snow. I got a manual locking differential, which locks the rear wheels so they're both turning no matter what. And if you leave that on and get on the wet or dry pavement and make a hard turn, you can actually break the axle It'd be the inner axle of the turn, because that wheel would be trying to turn as much as the outside wheel, and it wouldn't have any give, and it just snaps the axle. And we've actually had dumbasses do that here with them. Put it on, forget it was on. It beeps at you if you go too fast with it on. It's basically meant just to get you in and out of being stuck, or if you're off-road or you got low traction, and it helps. You lock that differential and it gets you out of a jam. This is for my drop chains. That's a set of chains on an arm that drop down on a wheel to the inside of the rear tires, and it spins that wheel around and throws a length of chain underneath the tire and all. So you put that, you push that, and then that drops that down, and then you close it up, and then it puts them back up. They come in handy if it gets icy or you got real low traction, the snow that packs down real hard. All right, this over here is my disco lights. That's for my strobe lights, the safety lights, the yellow ones. And that's on each corner of the truck. I got yellow strobe lights and all. And then my spinner lights, that takes care of the corners, rear corners of the truck. That's like backup lights, except a lot bigger and brighter. When I'm salting and spreading, turn them on so at night. So number one, it helps me see backing up, but it also mainly is for me to see how much salt I'm putting out, and whether or not it's spreading a wide enough pattern, whether I got to speed up my spinner, slow down my spinner, that kind of stuff. These two switches are part of that exhaust system controls that control whether or not it goes into what they call regen mode, which is supposed to clean out them filters and all that stuff. Over here, I got another button for my intake, for the engine intake for wintertime. You flip that on, and it gets warm air from under the hood to go into the engine rather than cold air. If it gets too much cold air in there, it's actually not good for the engine, and it has to keep running the glow plugs and all, because it cools the engine down too much. So diesel trucks don't have spark plugs. It needs the heat and the compression in order to get the fuel to spark off. This is my control. Well, wait a minute, go up here to I got a backup camera. So turn that on, and it looks out the back of the truck. Now you can see quite a bit, but when I got the spreader box on, it ain't really worth a damn, because the spreader box covers up about half of that. Then you can see about that much with the salt box on, which is pretty worthless. But in the summertime, I don't know. I don't really like it a whole lot. It's distracting more than anything for me. So there's my two microphones. I got my big rig. Every big rig's got to have a CB. Got that on my bungee. And then that's my county two-way radio. We just bumped up a couple years ago to 900 megahertz. So it has got a lot of zones, and each individual district and department and all that stuff all has their own frequencies and everything. But now with the cell phones, we don't use them. We don't use the two-way radio nearly as much as we used to. This right here controls my plow. Left, right, up, down. Plow's not on, but I can show you. There's the ram that picks up the plow. There'd be a chain hooked to that. That'd pick the plow up off the ground, and then you lower it down, and it drops the plow, and you plow off the snow. This right here is my body hoist. So that raises the bed up and down. So let me change hands here a little bit, and I'll get it to where I can spin around a little easier. So I introduce you. That's my Sock Monkey Bob and Army Joe there. Sock Monkey Bob I named in honor of my buddy Montana Bob. I used to plow snow with me. He was my snow partner for a long time. But unfortunately, he's dead. He smoked his whole life and died of throat cancer. And I miss old Bob. He's a good guy. Had a lot of laughs together, and got a lot of work done together. So that's the bed all the way up. You can see my shovel over there in its mount. And then those are the steps that you put down on either side if you're going to be help you climb up and in, especially if you're fat like me. And I don't know whether you can see them do the drop chains. I think you can see them a little bit down in there. You see them go. It's kind of hard to see. The part of the hoist is in the way, but they go up and down. Like I said, they're a help. They're not the be-all, end-all for for snow and ice and everything. And I got pretty good meat on my tires. This truck's brand new last fall. So that's that. Another critical piece of equipment. This is my cup holder that I made probably 20 years ago. Welded that up, and that's been in every one of my dump trucks. That goes everywhere with me, and a lot of miles on its belt. Critical piece of equipment. Over there is just too damn far away to be, you know, convenient. Up here is right where it needs to be. That actually ought to be standard, but I have to adapt and overcome. So Fluffy Industries welded that up. There's my temperature gauge. That tells me the road temperature, the air temperature, and relative humidity. That comes off of that gauge right there, and that comes in handy for knowing if the road is going to turn icy, change over from just being wet to frozen, and that kind of stuff. So those are good things to know when you're out trying to keep them from being that way. And that's my tarp control. That controls covering and uncovering the truck bed and all. This is my tailgate latch. Pull that up. That pops the tailgate and lets out whatever you're in. You dump out the back. So that's on an air cylinder. Here's my control for my spreader box, salt box. So, and this button turns it on and off and controls the auger. And this upper button here controls the spinner, how fast it spins, which makes it either spread wider or narrower. And then it also push it, and it has a blast feature that puts down more salt. And so if you're going through an intersection and you want to salt the intersection a little heavier, or you're going up or down a hill and you want to put a little more salt on that. And then this reverses and forwards the auger in case you get a jam in there. Sometimes you'll get big chunks get jammed up. And then I got a manual mode for coming out of the automatic feature on this. And then there's a menu. It's touch screen, and you can get into some of the other screens to do what you need to do. But that's the control for the salt box. So I think that's about everything. I can't think of a whole lot else. So those are the things that make it a little different from every other big rig with the snow stuff. And then the rest of it, all the big rigs have all the rest of it and all. And other dump trucks have more axles than I do and can haul more weight and all. And then bigger engines and manual transmissions and all that stuff. But that is, to use your kind of terminologies there, Rich, that is the anatomy of my county dump truck. And it, like I said, it would be similar to a lot of other trucks out there. Any of you guys that do the same things that I do probably are saying, yeah, what's the big deal? But then there's some people that have never been around them or exposed to them, and might have found it a little interesting or informative, I guess you'd say. So I hope you guys are all having a good day. I'll probably post up a shave video this evening as well. Rich, hang in there, man. I'm sorry to hear about all the stuff going on. I'm glad my little token of a gift there was a little bit of a bright spot for you. Same thing with you, Nurse Dave. Glad you enjoyed it and embraced it. That's the way it was meant to be, fun. I wish I could have got more smaller shirts for you guys. It's not that you have to have 3X's, but that was all that I could scrounge up in the form of new shirts. You didn't want any of mine that had already been, pre-stained with spaghetti stains and that kind of stuff, and tar and everything on them. They weren't too shiny. You probably would have just put them straight to use as rags or something. So I wanted to get you new shirts, and then that was all the sizes that I could scrounge up was the 3X for you guys. So and Dave down there in Kentucky, glad you like your shirt too. So a little bit of esprit de corps, have a little bit of fun with it. If you want to give them away for night shirts or something like that, feel free. Do whatever you got to do. My wife wouldn't be caught dead in one of them, so your guys' wives might have a little bit more sense of humor, I guess you could say, and are happy to wear it, that's great. More power to them. Talk to you guys later, and I'll see you on the forum.